you're putting your time into entertainment, but what's the point of entertainment? Well, it's to distract you from your life. Now, when you have so much of your life that's geared towards entertainment, towards scrolling videos, towards watching content, towards watching movies, towards playing video games, and so much of our lives are geared towards entertainment, that means that so much of our life, that big chunk, is geared towards distracting us from the life that we presently live. Rather than putting that time into building the life that you want to live. But a promise I will make you is that where you want to get in life, you're not going to get there through entertainment. Entertainment is going to distract you from getting to where you want to get in life. Unless your goal is to be entertained and broke and complaining. I really want to be a complainer. I want to complain more than anybody who's ever lived. Oh, and I want to see the meaningless of my life and hate it. Great. Entertainment can do that for you. Especially a lot of it, like anything else. It can be good. It's a distraction for a little while, but it's like eating ice cream. Everybody likes ice cream, but not when someone's shoving it to you by the gallon full. It makes you sick. And the same is true about entertainment. It makes our lives sick. What's her packing routine like when she goes to Fashion Week? Yeah. What's it like to buy those airline tickets and to figure out when to go and arrange the Ubers from the airport or get the rental car? Those are the things they don't show. They show the really exciting things, and you'll notice that a lot of times in these videos they'll show them like, oh my God, I'm here in Paris, and then they'll like show them walking through an airport or whatever, but it's all fast forwarded, so they're going to the airport really fast, and then they cut, then they're at the Eiffel Tower or wherever. In other words, you don't see those behind the scene things. We see all of the highlights, and this isn't a criticism because, well, of course, like why would imagine a content creator who did the reverse. Like they showed themselves packing, trying to buy airline tickets, trying to figure those things out. And then when they get to the Eiffel Tower, they fast forward over all of that. But then they show all the really mundane stuff. We wouldn't like that stuff. Now, with regards to content creators, I wonder if you see this where there's these extremes where you have people like that, where it's all, here's the perfect lifestyle, here's the perfect life, everything is picture perfect. And then you have the other ones that they're just a complete mess. And their whole life is kind of about documenting the chaos of their lives. There isn't really a lot in between. We talked, I think, last about the big five personality stuff, and then we talked about this distribution. In other words, we find life interesting in these margins out here. Not really so much here, but we find life really interesting in the margins because most of us inhabit this area right here. And I was thinking about when you were talking about the content creators, because I heard something yesterday that was talking about like the incredible stress that they're under. The ones who make a lot of money, they make a lot of money doing it. But man, if you think about it, like right now, if I were to ask you to, I don't know, write an essay about something, I told you can pick whatever topic you want to pick. And the rules were just kind of like, make it interesting. All right, off you go. You'd be stuck and stymied and frustrated and annoyed, and many, I imagine most probably wouldn't even do it. But that's what content creators do every day. Every day they're having to come up with something from scratch. What am I going to do today and post so that I can get the attention of viewers? That might be a fun exercise. Think about it where like today, if you had the resources, what would you do today to start a channel? And what would, in other words, like what content would you make right now? And then tomorrow when you wake up, ask yourself, what content would I make today? And see how many days in a row you can keep that interesting. Even assuming you had the resources, assuming you had the audience, what could you do today to keep it going? And there's a lot, man. It's tough. It's tough. And that's why the ones who make a lot of money make a lot of money. Now, having said that, and that's why I say kind of plot it out. Having said that, I wonder how many of us would say, I'd want to do it, man. I want to do it. What we want a lot of times is the money. We want the fame. We want the clout. We want all the good stuff that goes along with that. We don't want the part of of the life that's fast forwarded over as we're walking through the airport, or buying airline tickets, or ordering food, or going to the bathroom. We want the highlights, but life is a lot of like peaks and valleys. And if you only ever show the highlights of people's lives. Now, having said that, I mean, again, would you want to watch a content channel that showed only the lowlights, only showed the mundane, only showed them walking through the airport, only showed them, trying to order lunch? Probably not. And so I don't blame them for showing those highlights, but we do oftentimes complain like they're just showing the best parts. Well, duh. But here's the real problem. We're only watching the best parts, which is fine. It's entertaining. I mean, that's no different than if you watch a movie. When you watch a movie and it tells a story, it's only showing the highlights of those stories, especially if it's an action movie, it's a romance. They don't show all of the behind the scenes things that would lead to the moment. It shows the people kissing in the rain, but it doesn't show the drive over. It doesn't show them watching the Weather Channel, trying to figure out if there's going to be rain tomorrow. It only shows those highlights. And that's entertaining. The problem is when we compare our own lives to those highlights. Because anybody here, if you ever go to Disneyland maybe, I wonder how many of you will be on a roller coaster watching other content creators, watching their lives while you're on the roller coaster. Probably not. Probably not. I wonder how many of you are, if you're going skydiving and you're watching another content creator while you're skydiving. Probably not. We're watching these things when we're at those moments of least excitement in our lives. We're scrolling because we're bored. We're scrolling because we have nothing going on. And we're comparing our life right now, the downtime, the low light of having nothing to do and being bored, to the exciting life of this person, and that person, and that person, and that person, and that person, and a whole spectrum of stars compared to our low lights. So what other conclusion can you walk away with except that my life is boring, my life is too slow, my life is meaningless, my life sucks? And then you further and further and further fall into that spiral, which then, by the way, removes you from life. In other words, that boredom, that monotony. There's a word, there's a French word called ennui, which we don't really have an English translation for, but it essentially means it's a type of boredom that leads to despair, where you're so bored that you just become depressed and start to despair over life. And if you're comparing those lowlights of your life to the highlights of everybody else, it's very difficult not to suffer from that. It's funny because it's an old French word. It isn't a new emotion that humans are encountering because we have social media. It's a thing that's as old as time. Before this, it was books. Before books, it was oral stories that we would tell. Comparing our lives to the highlights of the heroes, we're always going to come up short until you become a hero yourself. So what is it to become a hero? Overcome some things, overcome some difficulties. I was just talking to somebody recently about this tendency that we have to put people down. And when we put people down, we make them feel like their lives are boring and sad and meaningless, a strange thing happens. They lead a sad, boring, meaningless life. For example, thinking about people who play online video games. I mean, a lot of them. It's hard to convince a person not to do that, because when you're doing that, you're really spending your time. You're not doing something that pays any dividends at the end. You're investing. You're putting your time into entertainment. But what's the point of entertainment? Well, it's to distract you from your life. Now, when you have so much of your life that's geared towards entertainment, towards scrolling videos, towards watching content, towards watching movies, towards playing video games, and so much of our lives are geared towards entertainment, that means that so much of our lives, that big chunk, is geared towards distracting us from the life that we presently live. Rather than putting that time into building the life that you want to live, we put that time into distracting ourselves from the lives that we hate, that we find unsatisfying. And here's the unpopular truth: your life should probably be unsatisfying when you're younger, because you don't have anything. If you're walking around and your family's broke, and then you're watching these videos about people living in massive mansions, and they're only like a year older than you, or even the same age as you, or even younger than you. And you could be thinking like, well, this sucks. How come I have nothing and they have everything? And it's weird. We'll love them and we'll admire them and we'll watch their videos and we'll become fans. And even if we're not fans, we are fans. In other words, if we just, I just watch to talk shit. Yeah, but you're still watching though. You're still giving them the views though. You're still giving them the clicks though. And it has enough to say to you, to speak to you, that you are still watching. But then that hatred kind of can be born from, they have so much and I have so little. Yeah, today. But it isn't about where you are today, it's about where you're going to be in 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years. And where you end up, I couldn't tell you, but I won't make you very many promises. I hope you understand that. But a promise I will make you is that where you want to get in life, you're not going to get there through entertainment. Entertainment's going to distract you from getting to where you want to get in life. Unless your goal is to be entertained and broke and complaining. I really want to be a complainer. I want to complain more than anybody who's ever lived. Oh, and I want to see the meaningless of my life and hate it. Great. Entertainment can do that for you. Especially a lot of it. Like anything else. It can be good. It's a distraction for a little while. But it's like eating ice cream. Everybody likes ice cream, but not when someone's shoving it to you by the gallon full. It makes you sick. And the same is true about entertainment. It makes our lives sick. So what do? You take your time out of that and you invest it in the things that are actually going to build you up. And then, of course, what do you know about what can possibly build you up? Well, look at the entertainment. Look at what you're watching. You know, it's like if you're fascinated by someone who's a content creator, I'm not saying go out and become a content creator. I'm saying learn business then. Because you know that that's something you admire. You like this person's content, you like the fact that they're making a bunch of money, so then you know you like business, so then invest that time into business. Well, I don't know where to start. Well, duh. You've never done it before. If you've never done it before, you wouldn't know. So what do you have to do? Invest the time in finding out. Oh, it's a lot of work. You're right. If it wasn't, everybody would do it. Everyone would do it. And you think content creation is easy work? Yeah, man, that's some hard work, man. I think about this sometimes, like, how long does it take you to write an essay? And you have people online who are publishing 2 video essays a week. How do they get the time to write all that and to come up with all that? Well, they hire people, sometimes. I do know there's one guy I'm thinking of who's, it's called Thoughty 2. And he does interesting, historical videos where he has got 3 million subscribers and he writes his own scripts and everything still. He doesn't have a team that works for him. He has a team that helps him edit the videos, but he does all the work himself. It's like, how, dude, how do you have time for all that? I'll tell you how he has time for all that. He's making videos. He's not watching them. He's making videos. He's not playing games. He's making videos. Probably not a lot of time for relationships with a significant other and friends. That's the trade-off. That's the trade-off. And so, I could tell you otherwise. Content creation is easy. You can go become a billionaire within a year if you just do it. It's easy, and life is fantastic, and everyone's gonna love you. When the people want the impossible, only liars can satisfy. When we want the possible, when people come along and tell you the truth, it's easy to hate them. It's easy to hate them, but be nice. Be nice to people who tell you the truth. Not people who are trying to hurt your feelings. They understand that there is a difference. Someone can come along and give you a really crappy opinion to put you down just for the sake of putting you down. Don't put up with that. Don't tolerate that. But people who tell you the truth, or at least what they believe to be the truth, you can tell the difference because they tell you these things in a way that's designed to help build you up, not to just put you down. You know, you want to be a baseball player, let's say, and they come on and they go, you suck at baseball. And they walk away. There's nothing to build on top of from that. There's no, you suck at baseball, but you know what? You could be a good surgeon. You could be a good accountant. You could be a good fill in the blank. I was talking to somebody recently, a friend of mine, and she was saying that she looks at pictures of herself now, and she's 20, she's in her late 20s, and she sees pictures of herself from like a year ago or two, bless you, from a year ago or 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and she remembers her family was always telling her how ugly she was. They would just say, "You're ugly." By the way, she does pageants and stuff like that. She's not ugly by any stretch of the imagination, but she believes that about herself. And she was saying that she was looking at some old pictures that she posted on Instagram, and she doesn't post many pictures on Instagram, but she was looking at some of the older pictures, and she was like, "They're completely wrong. I wasn't ugly. I wasn't ugly." I go, "How are you today?" She's like, "Well, I mean," and she was talking about how much she hates her body and how much she doesn't like the way she looks. I'm like, "So you feel today the same way you felt about yourself 2 years ago. But now looking back 2 years ago, you realize that you weren't ugly, you were attractive." She's like, "Yeah." I go, "What do you think you're gonna think 2 years from now, looking back at pictures of yourself from today?" And she laughed and she's like, "I don't know, maybe I will think I'm pretty." I said, "That's the thing. It's this catching up with. You know, in other words, I'm ugly. Oh man, I can't believe how attractive I was 2 years ago. Not like today. Now today I'm ugly." Then fast forward 2 years. "Man, I wasn't as ugly as I thought I was 2 years ago, but today I am." It's this constant catching up with. But there's a difference between a person who just comes along and says, "Oh, you're ugly," or but then gives you nothing to build on top of. That's a person who's just trying to put you down. They're not trying to make you better. They don't care about you. The person who you want to be a model, let's say, and they go, "Yeah, I don't think you're attractive to be a model, but you're really smart. You could do it." Yeah, they're putting you down, but they're also giving you an alternative because that's their opinion, and they could be completely wrong about it. But it's not coming from a place of maliciousness. It's coming from a place, maybe, of care and concern. Those people, pay attention to them. Don't necessarily follow them, but at least as far as they can tell, and they believe they're not lying. So, be nice to people who tell the truth. Stop killing us. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Neat. Happy Wednesday-ish.